So, in Australia, where you are, do you think it's widening or changing the gap between different the different parts of Australia, say New South Wales versus Queensland, as to how they're handling the pandemic, and maybe it's giving one territory an advantage over the other, or depending on how the government's handling it?
I'd like to say yes. Look, the Liberal state premiers, and it's the state premiers that really have been controlling the whole thing. The federal government had the beauty of washing their hands of it all and saying, "Oh, look, it's nothing to do with us. It's all the state premiers. They're making all the decisions." However, they called in meetings once a month, and things were said behind closed doors that none of the general public are allowed to hear, even in a democracy. And then he's pretending that it's all the state premiers going rogue and doing all these lockdowns and vaccine mandates and things that have caused a lot of social unrest. I think what we call the Liberal, or so the more conservative governments, have tried to have a little bit of more freedom compared to, say, Labor, which is the more progressive, side of things. However, I would say both sides of government are not what I would say sitting in a democratic, freedom, human rights orientated area. They both got pulled significantly left of centre, and that's caused probably a fair bit of concern actually with a lot of voters. And we've got federal elections coming up. There's going to be a massive backlash. God knows what's going to happen, but yeah, look, it's hard to say if there's one standout state. Maybe New South Wales. I think they did some things where they were the first to allow visitors back in. They were the first to drop quarantine for vaccinated international arrivals, so people could actually get home. And that wasn't just tourists; that was actually Australian people. Australian people were locked out of their own country for 18 months, 2 years. And it's interesting. The question then becomes, what is a passport? If you're never allowed back to your sovereign country, what the hell is it? There's been some funny things raised in a democracy that's supposed to be run by a conservative federal government. We saw some pretty crazy stuff that you would kind of put more with China, to be honest.
Now, do you think that? I mean, my personal opinion is sort of leans this way, but do you think that maybe a lot of it was motivated by more of a fear of getting blamed than actual, like, I don't doubt that these governments were concerned about their citizens and they wanted to help everybody to not get sick and die. But do you think that some of it, at least a bit of it, was they were worried that if they made the wrong decision and there was pictures of people in hospital dying and everything, they were going to lose their job and get voted out of office and everything. So instead they just said, screw it, we'll just lock everything down and take the least risky approach?
I hope that was it. I hope it's massive negligence and, driven by a large will or desire to not lose their political jobs. I hope that was it, because if it wasn't, it looks like they were just ruining the country, which is pretty terrible to say. But I'm hoping it was just a race to the bottom of who can be the safest and who can have the least cannon. And it was pretty silly because you had these, like you guys probably did over there, you had this ticker tape every day of how many cases, how many this and that. And if one state was doing better, the media sort of praised them up, and it was that sort of. And they never looked at suicides, businesses going broke, kids that missed school, any of the stuff that I'm sure has been spoken about a lot. I would hope that it is just a point in time where bureaucracy had unlimited power and it went mad. Otherwise, man, it's something fairly more nefarious, and I'm hoping it's not that. So let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt, where they were just given a set of conditions that they were well ill-equipped to handle, and they basically had a choice of following democratic countries like Sweden. However, they followed communist countries like China, and that was the lead they took. They took that lead from the World Health Organization. China has a fairly big sway in the World Health Organization because the UN and the WHO have been courting China for a long time. And so it's just a whole lot of stuff there. Whereas you look at states and countries that did amazingly, Sweden, Florida, and probably nearly all of Africa. They just did opposite of what Australia has done, and the results are pretty much the same or better without the economic damage, without all the mental health anguish and things like that. So, yeah, look, we chose to follow. We chose to throw out the pandemic readiness book that the government had prepared ages ago and just follow what was a Chinese and perhaps a WHO sort of thing that they all just decided that they were going to do something different. Like it was too scary, and it wasn't that scary. And we look backwards now and realize that there's been some massive startups. There's been some massive startups, but I'm hoping we can all move forward from it. But it's, from one crisis to the next. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see how much we're going to handle.
Well, it's sad when our best hope is that we're hoping that they were massively incompetent.
It is pretty sad. It is pretty sad, isn't it? We don't want to get into any conspiracy theories, but things that were conspiracy theories 18 months ago have now come out as fact in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and British Medical Journal, and things like that. Like it's been an amazing time to see things come out. Look, for viewers out there who are interested in watching that stuff unfold, Russell Brand does a really good job. Russell Brand does an amazing job of pulling up actual data and says, look, 18 months ago, this was a conspiracy theorist. What do you think? And now, look, it's fact. It's incredible to see what it is. It's any wonder we're all confused and just like our heads are spinning. And it's showing in my client base, actually. When I have conversations with clients, you can tell that their stability of looking forward to us planning financial decisions with family and succession and all those sort of things, and now really like, I think I'm going to bring my retirement forward a bit, like by a decade, because I'm just not trusting that the world I knew exists. This kind of crazy thing, anything can happen. Who knows? I need to scramble and scrape together some fun because it could be taken away from me at any stage. So really interesting to feel that go. I would say everyone's got trauma.